Hello, welcome everyone to Building Business and Community Partnerships, our second panel for the third Iowa Ideas in-Depth Week of 2024 on college and career learning. And thank you all for being here and to our sponsor, ITC Midwest. I'm Marissa Payne, the Gazette's Cedar Rapids, Linn County local government reporter, and I'll be your moderator. Please feel free at any point throughout this session to send questions over, and I'll work those into the conversation where I can. Before we start, I'll hand it over to our panelists to introduce themselves. I'll go in order of who's on my screen, so we'll start with Jeff.
Thank you, Marissa. My name is Jeff Frost. I'm Executive Director of Professional Technical Education for the Waterloo Schools, long title. Basically, what that means is I oversee all things related to really career and technical education, work-based learning, partnerships with our businesses, and a variety of other things.
Thank you. And Travis?
Yeah, Travis Schwartz, Larson Construction, and thank you as well, Marissa. This is an exciting opportunity. And yeah, we help high schools and community colleges program, design, and build career technology education spaces. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Paige?
Hi, I'm Paige Emerson. I am a careers pathway navigator for the Waterloo and Cedar Rapids hospitals. I work closely with Jeff and Todd at the Waterloo Career Centers, but also I'm doing this for the Cedar Rapids side.
Thank you. And Todd?
Hi, my name is Todd Kern. I'm the graphic design instructor at the Waterloo Career Center, and I want to thank you for having me be part of the panel today.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate you all being here. So transitioning from Monday's panel, I know we kicked off the week with a broad discussion on college and career learning in Iowa. You all work on different programs that interface with businesses and communities looking to offer and expand college and career programming. Can you share a little more about background on especially the Waterloo Career Center and what do these centers do? How did they come to be?
Todd, do you want me to grab this to start with?
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead.
Off this, and actually, everybody on the panel, we work all together. We've worked together on from construction to design to implementation to actually business partnerships at the Career Center there. But the Waterloo Career Center is a place for high school students, specifically Waterloo high school students, but we also have 12 other districts that have 2080 agreements, plus 3 non-public schools in Waterloo that attend there for students to, what I would say is really discover their passion, their career pathway, really help them find what they want to do in life and kind of lead to their career opportunities there. It's a place where students can earn college credit, nationally recognized credentials and certifications. But I think even the bigger thing for me personally, besides the credentials and the college credit, in many cases, is really just the path of discovery. You really can't go wrong there. We have on and off ramps for our students. The Waterloo Schools has this idea called a diploma and a plan. It's kind of our mantra, I guess you would say. We don't want to just graduate students. We really want to have students have a plan after graduation. And the Waterloo Career Center really plays a big role in really kind of discovering that pathway or that plan after school. So students can come out there. We have 18 distinct pathway programs. Todd, of course, teaches one of them. We have a construction class. We do work with Travis there, who also is part of our design and actually building the Career Center. And of course, with Paige, she's part of Unity Point. Another one of our programs is nursing, pre-nursing. So it's just a great opportunity, on and off ramps, discovery. We ask our students to what's your passion, and we'll help you find your career, and you'll love it. We also do a lot of embedding of soft skills, professional skills, and offer work-based learning opportunities, really kind of the gamut of things to keep kids interested, helping them find their passion, and allowing them to make mistakes, as kids will do, to have the on and off ramps. If they don't like one pathway, they have the opportunity to discover others. and to really hopefully by the time they do graduate, really have that plan in place.
Yeah, and I would like to piggyback that on that a little bit with, Jeff mentions passion, and what's happened here over the last 10 years is it's become a passion, for these kids are trying to find their passion. And for us at Larson Construction, CTE has become a passion of helping kids find their way and also provide what we need in industry. So within our family, we have a manufacturing company and a steel fabrication and a construction company. And one of the main things we need are quality young people to get into our industry. And so that's only a small, portion of what career technology education can provide, because you look at what Todd's involved with the arts and everything else. But, doing this has become a personal and professional passion of ours, of mine, because of the impact that it can have. And, we can build a lot of buildings, a lot of schools, a lot of colleges, a lot of hospitals. But I don't know that I've been involved with anything as directly impactful to young people as CTE. And Jeff has some great statistics, but even as far back as about 12, 13 years ago, we did Northeast Iowa Community College and helped develop, 6 of their main buildings at both campuses. And to see that place to start to grow, as well as Kirkwood Community College and Hawkeye Community College, and to provide outlets to young people that, I just don't think every human being's designed to go to a university or a setting where you're still, you're sitting in a seat. And I think that the impact that these types of programs have are huge, and it's really neat to be a part of, and it's needed. My son, for example, Jeff and I had this discussion. My wife and I both went through the Waterloo Career Center after it was done many times now. And every time we come away from that is that we wish our middle son could go to that. He's a junior year now, and we just don't have that type of them type of programs and them types of facilities in our school district, and it makes us sad. And so to be able to provide more and more and as many of these type of facilities that we can is pretty rewarding. So
Thank you. Do you have anything that you'd like to add, Todd, from the?
Not really. I would say that Jeff hit it on the head, and the real big caveat that I feel is like and one thing I share with students and with their parents is that it's school that you haven't ever experienced before. We treat you professionally, like young professionals. The content is higher, but you'll have a lot of time to work with us. I get to know the students really well, their passions, their dreams, what they want to do, and make those connections that could steer them into career. Yet, if their life journey takes them even to college, the students will be prepared for higher academics as well coming. So it's a highly unique situation, and it bears repeating. We treat our students like young professionals.
I'll add on to that. I think it also just really prepares them for success in the future. That's our goal, is to retain them here in both Cedar Rapids and Waterloo Market. So if we can catch them at that younger age and retain them, that's a big win for both communities.
Yeah, and can you share some examples of how students enrolled in this programming are actually, taking their education out onto the field? And, what are some of the success stories? What is the incentive for students to enroll in this kind of programming?
Sure. So I'll grab that one because it ties into a lot of the other ones that are on this panel here. But we have a very robust work-based learning program at the Career Center. Not only do we want to, obviously teach them the technical skills within the programs that we offer, but we also, again, like Todd mentioned, a big part of what we do is the professional skills. But a big part of that is going out and applying the application piece to really get out there in the business world, the real world, to see if this is a fit. So again, we have a robust work-based learning opportunity. And I think a great example of this is what we have going on with Unity Points. One thing, we have the 18 programs range from the trades like construction and plumbing, electrical. We also have other programs such as nursing and digital graphics and cyber and things like that. And so our nursing program or pre-nursing program is a great example of really what I would say is the WCC, Waterloo Career Center, and business partner alignment there. Every year we have, or every semester, we have about 35 people come through our pre-nursing program. They take the CNA test as part of that. They pass the CNA test. We've had a 100% pass rate the last 3 years, I believe. And then what happens is they have the ability to, because of our business partnerships and our relationships with our businesses in the community, they have the ability to actually start working while they're in high school and earning and learning at a very good rate. An example of that is our Unity Point. Every semester we have a big celebration. Most of our CNAs sign on with Unity Point and are allowed to go work at Unity Point, usually I believe Allen Hospital in Waterloo, where they service CNAs, and they can continue doing that after they graduate from high school. And then they go on to, whether it's a 2-year school at Hawkeye to get their nursing, or to 4-year like Allen College or other places, but they tend to stay within the system and working at Unity Point Health. And that relationship is started when they're sometimes juniors in high school and continues all the way till they graduate from Allen College nursing. And you have that continuum where it's just the comfortness of the ability to build culture. They get to know the Allen culture real well, the Unity Point culture. That is taking place for all of our programs all throughout the Career Center. So, that diploma and a plan, it really is the next layer of that plan, taking work-based learning while in high school and then getting them out in the real world and applying it. And I think Paige would probably be best to pick this up because she can talk from when we hand them off, what kind of students are receiving and how that's working out for them.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So I do want to add, I want to say between Cedar Rapids has one as well. We do it with the Kirkwood Regional Center. In the past, I would say 1.5 years that we've been doing this, we've hired between Waterloo and Cedar Rapids over 100 young professionals, high school students that have worked at both locations as a patient care tech. From there, we really focus on them. Like, how can we prepare them to real world life? Like, how can we retain them? What can we do to get you to your path that you want? So there's some areas where some want to do radiology. We're working on that part, shifting them over to radiology, and then nursing. And then there's lab, there's therapies, there's a wide range for these young professionals to go through. So that is what we are in the middle of building right now. We're in that process, but a lot of the feedback we've gotten is like the students just are thankful for the opportunity because they see that we believe in them and we're investing in them. Some other awesome things that we're seeing, the return of like how many students are staying on, we're over at least 50%. So that speaks really highly, I think, just because some of those students they want to go off to, let's say, the University of Iowa, or they want to travel outside of the state. But I want to see, like, in the end, how many of them do end up coming back because of our culture we have built, how we've invested in them. So that is kind of where we stand, and we always want to support our schools and communities.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. I got a quick story that I'm not sure Jeff even knows about, but we have a Don Bosco story, and a young man from Don Bosco, which is where Jeff, oh my gosh, he coached, right?
I actually attended high school there a long time ago.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, that young man decided he wanted to weld, and he got introduced to it a little bit through the Waterloo Career Center, and so he'd heard about us and our steel fabrication company, and decided to come on board, which is great. So he interned with us, and we were teaching him. We pretty much had within our own company was going to get him certified with that. But the biggest lesson he learned is he didn't show up for work one day. And he didn't call in. So we happened to be doing a presentation at Don Bosco, and the principal grabbed me and he's like, Travis, I need you for a minute. And she drugged me into her office. So she drugged me into the principal's office. And then here comes this young man. I'm like, oh, I recognize you. And so the principal used this as a learning moment. Like, well, here's your boss. I heard you didn't show up for work yesterday. maybe we should talk about it. And so it was amazing where kind of between the Waterloo Career Center, our company, Iowa Engineered Processes, Don Bosco, and here I am doing a presentation. It all came together. And that young man learned a ton right then and there. Like, yeah, just more from him. He was embarrassed. Like, yeah, I thought I could skip work like I could skip school. And we brought a whole nother level of, oh my gosh, I better show up for work. So, them types of little relationships can help and affect individuals real quickly.
Yeah, I'd like to dive in, more to how these business partnerships come about that make this programming possible. But can we establish just like what sort of employment needs are we seeing from businesses, and how does this kind of guide like what college and career learning programming is available?
I'll start with that just because healthcare, we know we need as many hands on deck as we can. So I think that's a great way for us to get this younger population to healthcare. And I foresee it helping us with our kind of the future ready for people to come and work for us.
Yeah, I think, and a little bit different. This is great having Paige and us come from completely different industries, really. But I think it helps in a way from a business perspective. I don't want to say weed out, but like we want people who they need to have a passion. And we always like to say, it's kind of in your blood in construction. It either isn't or isn't. And so for them to get that experience and for their time, they can hopefully determine this is a great path for them, or it's not. Even more important, that it's not. So it doesn't waste their time or our time, because it's hard to try to explain to somebody like, yeah, we understand you like to do this, but we can, you can just tell a person maybe just doesn't like to get dirty or doesn't want to do that. So to get people to find their passion, what they're good at, and chase that early on in life rather than after they've made some other decisions, I think is huge for the student and for the employer.
I'm going to tap onto that because I was telling Todd and Marissa one day, I was like, I changed my majors like 10 times in college, right? Like I paid for it and still paying for it. But this is a way for these young professionals really to get this at the younger age and not have to be invested in so much money for them to decide, I did the CNA course, but I don't think healthcare is what I want. I'm going to go into graphic design, something different. It just helps them see their future.
No, I just met with my neighbor from my hometown of Houghton, which is smaller than LaPorte City, but it's my neighbor married a gentleman. She married a guy in Cedar Rapids, and we have this discussion because of the work we're trying to do in Cedar Rapids. And he is an IT person for Rockwell Collins, and great job, well paying, set their family up for success. And he came over to talk to me a little bit, and we were talking, and he's getting ready to retire. You can see it in 3 or 4 years, he's going to be able to retire. And he was kind of negative. He's like, I just cannot wait to be done. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. Like, you sound like you have a good job. He's like, yeah, I hate my job. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, I've been doing it for 30 years. And I don't like my job. I said, he said, it's really boring. It's very energetic. And I said, well, what are you going to do when you retire? He's like, I got this great carpenter shop. I've been working on it and I'm going to go do that. And I'm like, so we had this discussion. He's like, I just would have loved to do construction his whole life. And so kind of the flip side of it is, that's kind of a sad thing that somebody spent 30 years doing something that they didn't love or have a passion about. And here he could have been building things with me maybe. So, yeah.
I'll talk a little bit about the business partner side and the importance it plays for us. So really, obviously we're a secondary institution, and honestly with the Career Center, the business partners are our lifeblood. And it's kind of strange, like our first 2 or 3 years that we had the Career Center up and running, really the partners, our business community didn't really understand what we were, how it could help them, what we were trying to do. But then we had some breakthroughs. We had some early breakthroughs back in maybe about 7 years ago. And once one business partner started seeing, or the business community started seeing us sending students out and having success, and they're like, hey, we want to jump on this. And it went really quick, kind of like a J curve almost, of like we went from like struggling to get one or two business partners to believe or align with us, to now we have over 100 different businesses that we work with. And really, again, like I said, they're the lifeblood for us. Our business partners do everything from sponsorships. So they give us monetary, large monetary amounts to smaller amounts. But of course, that helps us, because our goal is always to stay relevant and current with what's kind of the best iteration of equipment in any of the 18 programs. And that helps a lot, because obviously that type of stuff costs quite a bit of money. They often will repurpose equipment that is not industry standard for them anymore, but it's maybe the next step down. And Todd can talk about a classic story. It's happened twice with one of our partners, McKinney Imaging, that has given them an $18,000 printer. They repurpose equipment to us all the time. But other things with our partners that really just help us, and this really, what I would say, is keeps us current of where things are going, is they serve on our advisory committees. And they really, we have, if it's a Hawkeye Community College course, that's our curriculum, and we teach that, and the learning objectives are the end game goals that are taught. But as Todd mentioned, we do have more time for each of our classes. And what that allows us to do is to take deep dives into other areas or go down rabbit holes. Or a lot of times we're getting like, hey, from our business partners, this is the next thing coming. You need to start looking at this. And it allows the time to actually start going out into those areas and fields and doing the next iteration of whatever that is. And our 18 different programs there, that is things that we would not know, but our business partners, our industry partners are telling us, hey, you need to start looking at this. Even the programs we choose and have chosen at the Career Center really have a strong influence from our industry and business partners. We try to set up programs where obviously there is a long-term outlook that there's going to be jobs there. And, obviously that's priority number one. We want to pick fields that are exciting, that our students want, but we also want positions that are, again, pay well, are, setting our students up for success. And we really feel like with our business partners, we're able to do that. Last thing I'm going to say here, and this is really what I think is the coolest thing about our business partners. Obviously, the money's nice, the equipment's nice, those, the guidance is nice, but they come in as guest lecturers. They allow us to take our kids on tours to their businesses and actually see that in action. They take our students on as interns, registered apprentices, quality pre-apprenticeships. They come in and basically, job shadows, you name it, they are willing to do it because they know that this is their next generation of their workers. And they love, number one, helping excite students about their programs. But number two, it's also a way for them to connect and maybe make that first connection where a student kind of thinks, you know what, when Larson was there, or when Unity Point was there, that was really cool. I think that's something I want to do. And, when we get them out to their places of employment, it's great. And it just kind of cements that relationship there. So a vast, broad spectrum of kind of what I would say is the community, the business industry partner, school partnerships, and the backbone of what we do. And Todd, do you want to add to that? Kind of tell the McKenna story or whatever else you have.
Yeah, sure. And actually, there's
so
a
much.
few more caveats to that there, Jeff. So one of my business partners, McKenna Imaging, they on one note, they donated some equipment, really large, wide format printers that they're taking offline on their production floor. It's the actual machine that makes giant, huge prints and posters that they ship around the country for photographers, engineering firms, art galleries. So it's part of the products that they make. They call me up, hey, do you want it? I'm like, yes, of course. But the real neat thing is getting it over to my building, into my classroom, getting it up and running. Again, they educate me on where to buy the supplies, how to use it, how to get it dialed in just right. And then my students, when they take graphics and images and photos and print them out on little, we've all made printed out pictures and whatnot, but then to see it outputted on this giant wide format, that looks exactly like one would find in a professional environment. It really it's really an incredible experience for the student. So then McKenna's like, hey, do you want another one? I'm like, well, sure. So we bring another one in. Now, excuse me, Jeff, this past springtime, they donated me yet another one, a really, really large one. And right now we're like students are like, what does that thing do? I go, I don't even know. We got to get it hooked up and get it running and experiment with it. And even that experimentation, that R&D is what the students will work with me, be part of that with me. Because if you're working at a business and to find, many times I've worked in industry where bosses are like, hey, we got to find out what's the next thing, and I was the guy to go out and find that out. So working with students as to it might not be functioning in this instant. We're going to buy supplies and get it going because that weight is kind of on our shoulders, that discovery, that true R&D work. So then again, this summer, I got another message from Jeff of yet another piece of equipment. At this point, my classroom is full. I had to say, no, I couldn't take one more. But that partnership is really amazing. And it's interesting too, because when they come into to our meetings and we break off and we have little roundtable discussions, we all talk the same tech. And being a digital graphics, photography, like art nerd guy, it's great to work with other folks with similar mindsets and just to find out exactly what are they looking at. Just like what Jeff said, what are they looking at? What's next? Because then I'm going to be challenged to implement that into my curriculum and have that trickle down right to my students and to their skill set.
Yeah, I do want to circle back, Jeff, to just kind of what you mentioned about the earlier days of the Career Center and the initial getting businesses on board. I mean, what were those initial reservations that businesses maybe had, or just limitations that they faced in, committing to getting involved?
Great question. So initially, they just didn't even really understand what we were doing, to tell you the truth. They're like, okay, we support this because it's about helping students find a passion or their career pathway. But, how do we play into this? They kind of thought it was our job just to have this in place. And then, they graduate, then they go off. And it was really kind of, to tell you the truth, kind of still the old 4-year college mindset. Now, we have 70% of our students that actually will go on to 4-year colleges. Whether that's through 2-year to 4-year or straight to 4-year. But the mindset had always been like, well, you guys are producing these, they find their passion, they find their pathway, then they go off this 4-year and that's what they're going to do. But what they didn't understand is, like, in many cases, that's really not, there's no linear pathways. There are some students that take that. So they kind of just thought that they would just go right from A to B. But as we started explaining and showing and growing these opportunities and saying, hey, what they're doing is they're learning skills here. We'd like to get them out into your businesses for partnerships, internships, things like that. Just kind of the explanation of what and how this could help them down the road there. So that was the big one, just kind of explaining what we do and then kind of starting to have them settle into opportunities there. Another one was these business partners are like, I love what you're doing. I understand that they could be our future employees, but they're in high school. And again, from A to 2-year to school to work in some cases, but school to 2-year, school to 4-year, that's like from A to D to Z and so on. How's that help us in the short term and interim? They didn't understand it. They always had questions. We can't take high school kids on. How, there's labor laws, there's all these regulations and rules. And as we went deeper into this and we started to explain to them things like, this is what an internship looks like. This is the legalities of it. This is the liability you wouldn't have or you would have. What is the quality pre-apprenticeship? Here's what the Federal Department of Labor says are the things that you don't have to worry about. Here's a registered apprenticeship. You can take a high school kid into a registered apprenticeship. They can work for you and you don't have to worry about these liabilities. As long as they're typically, like in the trades, it was things like they can't operate a heavy equipment operator or a lift. Other than that, the federal government's saying if you're 16 to 18, they can work on those places. And then it was me having to go out to the insurance companies and explain, hey, here's the actual Federal Department of Labor's policies in regards to regulations and rules. So it was really just an understanding of what's going on there. But again, once you have a breakthrough with one or two businesses and you start doing things like having job shadow experiences, sending kids on tours, each of our businesses have their own little niche communities. Like in manufacturing in Waterloo, we have the Cedar Valley Manufacturing Association. We have Home Builders Association. You have all these niche groups that come together to discuss their businesses. And if you locked into one, they would go and say, hey, I took a kid from the career center and they're doing this and this and this. And they're like, what? How are you doing that? How's that happening? And then that group is like, it's like, well, we need to jump on that. And all of a sudden, these 18 niche little advisory committees that are brought into our larger advisory groups start asking and saying, we want to be part of this. Tell us what we need to do. And that's, like I said, we struggled with like the first 2 years of getting one partner. And then we had one breakthrough, and then we had two, and it was John Deere and Unity Point. And I said, that's great, but we also need some mom and pop local businesses. We started having breakthroughs with them, and then it just like a J curve took off, because as soon as they saw that it's not just for the big fish out there, that it's legal to have these high school kids in doing things that it's really for all businesses in the community, then they all wanted to be part of it. And like I said, it started slow, but it took off very quickly. Now it's like we actually had to go out and hire a work-based learning coordinator, and also what is the position called? A strategic partnership coordinator, person that actually works with the businesses, because it got so large. When I'm dealing with 100 businesses, I can't do all the work-based learning, and I can't do all the partnerships. And, it actually just developed and morphed into us having to get out front of the want and the need from our community.
Yeah. Just a couple things that, Jeff, you hit the perfect note there when you said the biggest, as a business owner, the biggest concern is definitely the age of the individual and when they can be employed. In Independence, where in our school district of Independence, that was very difficult. We had some 16, 17-year-olds that wanted to come work for us, but if they're not through the right program, there's still big concerns about what the state law is and the federal law is. And that's close to heartbreaking when you have a 17-year-old kid that is like, I just want to come to work. And but then we really couldn't unless they're going through the programs set up in an internship fashion like Jeff talked about. So that was by far our biggest concern within our family of companies. And then also what's been really neat is getting involved with Cedar Rapids, and the reason I say that is the different communities. I shouldn't even say just Cedar Rapids, but Waterloo, Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, Marshalltown, every one of them has these awesome different businesses and different culture. And so finding that is key, and making sure that the programs that are developed and the pathways that are developed and honestly the buildings that are built and what they're like is really has to be match the community and the culture. So for example, in Cedar Rapids, we're going to be really heavy on aviation because of the CID. And even though Waterloo has an airport, CID is an international airport, and there's a lot of community college programs around that. So the Jefferson thing, where we're going to have a hangar, that building is going to be designed, and that pathway is going to be designed with a hangar and with rocket engines and with an airplane and a helicopter. And because that's what's going to get these a lot of kids. Like if I would have been 14 or 15 and I would have seen like, hey, that building has an airplane in it, I mean, I would have done anything to get in that building. And that's what we want. So yeah. So anyway, it's really important that every school district and every community and every CTE is designed around the community that supports it and the businesses that support it.
Yeah, I do want to remind people, since we're a little over halfway, feel free at any point to submit questions, and I'll incorporate those into the conversation while we still have some time here. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious, like, how do you work with businesses to kind of overcome some of these limitations, or decide like what is the best way for them to contribute, whether that is equipment or providing internships, etc.
Well, one thing we do is we actually, and I think this is really the most important step, is we actually, once a business has been identified or a business has identified us, is we put them in contact with our instructors. We have a broad array of lists of things. We can say, you can do all of these things or none of these things or one of these things. I mean, pick out and choose how you want to partner. So there might be, I think, like 15 to 20 things that a partnership can do. But what we really do is we stick our instructors on them and say, hey, you work with this person or this company or this business wants to partner. You work with them and figure out what that can look like, what you can offer, what they can offer. And let's find out and let's make all these connections possible. That's going to best help our students and best help that business, which ultimately is going to best help the community. And Todd can talk about how that relationship, and again, what we do is we have a spring and fall advisory every year. We bring in all of our business partners and we start off with a large group discussion and kind of just an overview of what we're at, where we're at, what we're doing, what's coming down the pike and stuff like that. But like Todd mentioned, about 45 minutes into that, we then break into the most important part of that. It's where they do break out into their program areas, their niche groups, and that's where they have those robust conversations and discuss all the things that can be done there. So Todd, maybe pick up on like, what do those conversations look like when you're working with a business partner, and maybe even explain how they start small and have, grown tremendously, or some examples of things that have taken place within your department itself.
So like, just like what Jeff had mentioned there, so these individual conversations, they don't, one thing we do is we don't just limit them to like, okay, Unity Point or XYZ fabricating, you stay with these guys. No, they're able to meander throughout the different programs. And oddly and interestingly enough, I've been able to partner up with certain organizations and businesses in the Waterloo area that were not my original business partners at all. Quick little story, Waterloo Blackhawks. We did an outreach. We did some work with them. We actually, we had one of the hockey nights. We were actually, the WCC was there kind of hosting it. Our students were helping through a number of different areas, from retail to sales to marketing. And actually one of my photography students was asked to operate one of the cameras for the huge Jumbotron. Now, again, I didn't train the student to do this. I trained the student to be a photographer and graphic designer, but he had the skill set, the soft skills, the confidence and wherewithal to approach the on-ice manager. And sure enough, he's like, yeah, go ahead and grab the camera. And here's a $10,000 camera. The look on the boy's face was amazing. Jeff, I don't know if you remember this or not. The look on his face was amazing as he's videoing the parts of the game or whatnot, and it's up on the screen. Now that is just a moment in time. That was not a sat down, regimented conversation and plan out it. So, and actually, Jeff, as you were describing some of our business and community partners and how we partner up, it's quite organic, I would think. Different businesses have different needs, different programs have different skill sets, but they do interface in with one another. Excuse me. Going back to like McKenna Imaging is one of my business partners, and it's been going on for a number of years. Technical advice, to the point, and then it trickles down right into my classroom. If one of the lead management executives at McKenna is like, you should show more of the students how to do this, this, and this in certain software programs, by golly, that is absolutely going to be part of my curriculum in that fall. And then some of the conversations, particularly in my world right now, with the infusion of AI and artificial intelligence, how is that going to work in graphics and design, in photography and video? Some of the similar questions that I have, they themselves are having, and it's really quite fruitful to figure out and almost partner up as how we're going to navigate these new paths.
I'm going to piggyback a little bit off that real quick, Marissa, because one thing Todd mentioned, and I think this is important because I don't want it, partnerships, and he nailed it. Like, I think sometimes people would think partners align specifically to a program. Actually, our partners are looking at a broad spectrum of programs. Unity Point's a prime example. Yeah, Paige and I work together and we focus on the health career, the nursing, the CNA alignment there, and leads to all those careers that you mentioned. So, our nursing students or CNA students are interested in nursing, radiology, this, that, and everything else. So they have a broad spectrum that they can go on after they sign on with as a CNA with Unity Point. But Unity Point has come to us for culinary. They've come to us for cyber. They've come to us for digital graphics. They come to us for hospitality type stuff. So a lot of our business partners actually don't just lock onto one. They dip their toes in the water of multiple programs. Construction's a prime example too. So if Larson comes to us, yeah, you think of, well, it's going to be our construction program. Oh no, it's the welding. They bring on plumbers, electricians. They actually bring on our digital, our computer programming because of things like being able to look at blueprints and design stuff. It's a broad spectrum across the board where business partners can really look at, it's real world, honestly. Like most businesses aren't just this and don't have HR. They have a business, they have a business plan. They have promotions, they have marketing, they have, everything. So that's where it's great because we actually not only have business partners, but they a broad array of different areas within each of those businesses that they actually, our students from all programs can kind of dip their toes in the water in. And again, that discovery, that identification of like, wow, there's so much out there. I really like this. And, it might not be this program, but it's this company or this partnership that pulled me in from this program. Now I'm locked into this over what I thought I wanted to do. And again, much like Paige, and I don't think she went 10 major changes, but I changed 3 times, went 5 years to Wartburg College, which was very expensive. Again, a win always for us on our side of things is that path of discovery, having on and off ramps. And honestly, if you can at least narrow down what you want to do before you leave high school, that in itself is one of the biggest wins you can have, because it actually will save you a lot of time, money, and effort to actually figure out, okay, I graduated, now what do I do?
So one more little just comes to mind, Jeff. A number of years ago, Master Brand Cabinetry here in Waterloo, their cabinets, they're absolutely going to partner with some of our construction areas, but then they approached me as for some signage, logistics, and even safety stickers. Because if you go into their facility, which my graphic design students went into their facility, and you see all the big machines with safety stickers on them and the crushing of the hands, well, all of them look the same. And on this machine, the hand, don't put your hand in there, it's going to crush your hand. There's those machines come with those stickers on them. And something as simple as that, to the point where we had students create new and inventive and very different looking stickers that, again, that might seem simplistic, but if you have the same sticker 10 times on the same machine, it won't register. So we had students invent some new stickers to keep people's hands out from being cut or crushed or whatnot. And it might seem quite simplistic, but my students really enjoyed it because I was like, look, these are going to be made and put on machinery, and you're going to help out somebody. It might be late at night, you might be at the end of a long shift, but you're not going to put your hand in that thing because this thing's going to warn you not to, and you're not going to overlook it as you may have before. So overall, more overarching is that a business like that, who would normally partner up with our construction department, came to us in graphics, and we were able to partner up with them as well.
I'm going to quick short segment as far as business. You guys are hitting just making a business owner smile here with all the comments of what you can bring. The other part of partnering with the businesses, as you kind of alluded to, is not having anything rigid. So when you go, especially small businesses, they may have things that could be very useful. But if you go, you go to a business, say, hey, we need this. You go to a concrete company and say, or a carpenter stuff, we need air nailers. Can you donate air nailers? Well, I mean, by nature, business owners are kind of, we're control freaks anyway. We're like, well, no, I want to donate what I want to donate. But I may not have air nailers, but maybe I have some compressors. Like, gosh, I have 8 compressors, but I really only need 4. So it's more of an open, like the partnership, and then all of a sudden you get them in there, and there's so it really does feel like they want to do what's good and right, and then get involved in keeping that ability to do what they can do and what they think will help the student the most. is also good. And you can even get, like, I would love to come in and teach, a carpentry course, because I do personally project management all day. I don't want to come in and teach a project management or an AutoCAD course, because that's boring to me. But hey, I'll come in and teach carpentry. So approaching businesses with that type of mindset, where it's not rigid, it's very, very open and flexible, just will be 10 times more successful. So yeah, and that's what the Waterloo Career Center did. Mm-hmm.
Well, lastly, on top of that, if I could just really, I mean, regardless of which program you're in, once again, from a teacher's aspect, I'm going to treat you like a young professional. So show up, be on time, keep your phone away, and it almost sounds crass and crude, but no, because that's what would be expected to me when I go to a job or where I want to meet with a client. And then communication. I mean, I'll have students that'll be like, "Hey, I wasn't sure about this thing." Well, you really need to come and find me, or raise your hand, or even get up and walk. Because if I'm on a job site and I'm working on something, and if I have a question for my boss, I'm not going to sit there for 5 minutes. I'm going to get up and find him and make it happen. Professionalism. And many times in our environment, students might not have been treated. It's not a classroom. It's not a normal classroom. It's not 30 seats with a chalkboard. They're treated like young professionals in a different environment, and many of our students absolutely respond once they get that. And then that, to me, is, even if my students don't go off to be photographers, graphic designers, animators, but they go off into another area, they're going to take those soft skills with them, and that's what I'm really most proud of with the staff and the students that we have at the Career Center.
I love what you just said, because that's one of the biggest things, is the skills they're learning are transferable skills across the broad spectrum. Even if they don't stay in Todd's program, or if they don't stay in nursing, if they don't stay in whatever, any of our programs, they have developed transferable skills, the professional skills, soft skills, but they're not soft at all. They learn to critically think. They learn how to prioritize, how to communicate, not just having my phone and communicating like texting someone. No, I got to conversate face to face, how to make decisions, those skills, who knows what the world of work is going to look like in 10, 15, 20 years. Some are pretty straightforward, healthcare, but it's always evolving. But, those skills are things that are so vital behind a person's ability to have success in a career, as a worker or an employee.
And one last little note, I have the same conversation with school administrators and parents, and Jeff and I speak to parents many times, and parents are like, "I've been telling my student this for years. Thank you for corroborating with what I've been telling them for years, that someone else is telling them you have to do this, and this to be successful." So it's almost a win-win for me in my classroom, the students, and support from the parents as well.
It kind of seems, from what you've shared so far, that, businesses in Waterloo, there's just a lot of buy-in now. The argument kind of makes itself for this programming. How would you suggest, where in communities where this is newer, or there's not the level of programming that there is in Waterloo, how do you suggest messaging to businesses effectively to encourage buy-in for college and career learning programs?
Well, first of all, I'll grab this one to begin with, because I think we're all going to be able to piggyback off this. I think we've had over 70 different school districts come visit the Career Center because they've heard about it. They want to see it in action, things like that. And one of the things we always tell them, and I think Todd hit upon it, you have to customize. This isn't a one size fits all. Each community is different. Even urban districts like Cedar Rapids, Waterloo, Des Moines, Sioux City, whatever. We have our differences. You have to create a facility, an entity that is best for you. I can give you insights of what we've done. I can give you things we've learned. I'll give you everything we have, because I don't think there's really any original ideas out there. We've taken our ideas and, from so many different entities out there. We've gone to Wilmington, Delaware. We've gone to Des Moines Central Campus. We've gone to Woodbine, Iowa, out in Western Iowa, a small district. Everybody has their niches. You have to customize it. What is best for you, your school, and your community? So that's number one. Number two, I would tell people, start slow to go fast. I think the worst thing you can do is say, "Oh my gosh, we need to jump in and have 25 programs up and running. We about did that. Luckily, actually, we went for a bond back in 2016. We were going to build a standalone career center with 30 distinct programs, but the bond failed, and thank God it did, because we've learned over time to do it right. You have to bring in lower number programs and bring them in slowly and correctly to make it actually successful. If we'd have brought in 30, we wouldn't be sitting here talking today. That would have been a big failure because we would have never gained any traction. Go slow to go fast is really kind of a mantra I tell everybody that comes in. You know, the other one is always you got to make it about your district, your community, because that's what matters most. I can give you what we got here. You can pick out and see things that you like and customize them. But I think that's an important thing for anybody that wants to jump into this. You know, I've been working with Cedar Rapids, and I've told them multiple times, you know, and it sounds like, you know, we've worked with, you know, Larson and us have been talking with them, and, you know, just even having like aviation, when you got, you know, Cedar Rapids Airport and, you know, Eastern Iowa Airport and Rockwell in your community, well, it makes sense that that's kind of your niche. We're more John Deere, Unity Point. I mean, health crew is going to be everywhere. So that's a given there. But I mean, no doubt about that. But you got to match it to your community's needs too. That makes more sense. It doesn't make any sense if your community's focus is this and you're building that. Well, they're going to be like, yeah, that's not our buy-in for that. But again, fit your needs to your community and your school, and go slow to go fast would be the two biggest things I would tell anybody in this endeavor.
I think
I
you
can
nailed that
comment
one, Jeff.
No, I was going to comment too, Jeff. I remember the early days because my program in nursing were the first two programs.
First two.
And even something as simple as it's a learning curve. Just like if we were starting a business. I remember those early days, a bus was late, so I'd be the guy. I'm not an administrator or principal, I'm a classroom teacher. I'm picking up the phone, calling the busing garage to find out what's going on. And expect, just like launching a business, expect a lot of hiccups. Expect a lot of alterations that are going to have to be made along the way. Again, I keep thinking of the word organic. It's going to have shape and change and mold, because what we have now is not what the originating plan was in 2016. But I'm excited at where we are and where we're going to go in the next 5 to 10 years.
It's so different than it was in 2016. What we thought, where we're at, and just, yeah.
And I think too, a part is keeping them in the community too. They say, you know, you get them young, they'll stay with you. And that's the whole goal for also with their community partners. You want to keep your students that graduated here, have their lifelong career here.
And I think what you see is success. It's kind of like what from a graduation and preparation of the students, would you rather have, you know, a small group of students being really, really successful and build upon that, or have a whole bunch of students, you know, and maybe instead of your graduation rate of, I think it was 96%, you have a graduation of 80% or something like that. I think that's exactly what, if you can build something that's quality programs and then pretty soon everybody wants to be there. And that's what you see happening. So, yeah.
And with that said, we still are changing and evolving and growing and have hiccups. I mean, it's always a learning curve. Every day is different. I mean, you gotta, what is it, evolve or die? I mean, that's really what you have to keep doing. Where we're at today certainly shouldn't be where we're at 10 years from now, or even 2 years from now. We are evolving with all the needs of our students, our district, our community, our business partners. And, you know, and I think that's an important part of, like, when we sat down for schematics and design of our buildings and worked with Larson and Envision architects on this, flexibility is a key. You know, you do build these nice facilities and they look great, but guess what? They can be turned on a dime in most cases. There are a few that are very niche and have to be what they are. Nursing lab is pretty much a nursing lab, but the flex space and the ability to adapt and change has to be built into that design component and construction piece as you evolve and grow it too.
Yeah, and now we have just a few minutes left here, so I'll begin to wrap it up. Do you have any final, I guess in the next few years, for college and career learning in Iowa, what do you kind of see on the horizon? Are there any certain headwinds or, just final takeaways you have for people?
I think the biggest thing is if you look at what Iowa, our investment is in CTE. I mean, Future Ready Iowa, that is the vision of our governor, of our state, but it's also the vision of our business partners. 92% of the jobs of now and probably the future are going to be tied to current technical education. On the student side of thing, it's the most engaging thing they will do during their school day. The kids are engaged, and if you're an engaged learner, you don't get in trouble. You do show up for class every day. We've had, I think, and since 2016, I think we've had 2 major referrals total in that time frame. 2. Our attendance rate is 98.6%. Our graduation rate of students at the Career Center, 96%. Engaged learners are those learners. And again, career and technical education is the driver of this, which is really the vision of our state leaders. And that's not just, and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. I go to Des Moines and I talk to the Democrats and Republicans. Both sides of the aisle say what you're doing is where we need to be at. I mean, it's something, if you want to find common ground between politicians, it's almost always in this area because it's education. It's going to help the future of Iowa. It's cutting edge. It's moving forward. It's engaging. And they're always looking at ways, how can we support it? What can we help change things? I mean, if you look at taking core credit and embedding it into CTE courses so kids can keep moving further faster, things like that are coming from both the Democrats and the Republicans working together, realizing that this is where we need to be and this is where we need to keep going.
One thing that I would piggyback on what Jeff is saying is that the kids' engagement, we have students, I have students email me when we have snow days if they can come in and work on the lab. We've had kids show up 2 weeks before school even started to see, they come in the summertime to see what they're going to be experiencing in 2 weeks. So engagement is truly key. And one thing too is as creating a program, an entity, a thing like this is that, yes, and then Jeff mentioned this before, what we're very proud of at the Career Center is that, yes, you have your pathways. If you want to be graphic design, multimedia, you can take all of my classes and then boom, go off to Iowa State, go off to Hawkeye, go off to other schools and get it. But yet, for the students that really know what they want to do. However, if you're not sure, we offer a mosaic, so if anyone is looking to build a program like this, open your eyes and really understand it's school like you've never seen it before. If I have a student that takes construction, and then graphics, and then business, and then computer, web page design, right? And then maybe take a culinary class. That young person, when they graduate to go on to college, or even just to one day go to the workforce, whatever they choose to do will be a more prepared, contributing adult in our society. That trickles down to the professionalism that we hold them to at the Career Center. So once again, mosaic as well as straight up direct pathway silos. And that sort of engagement truly draws the students and keeps them locked in.
And I'd say hopefully as we move forward, students, there's going to be more paths, like more college credit courses built in. So we will have people out of college ready maybe to be an LPN or ready to do something right out of college. Or right out of high school, I should say.
I have some good stories I could share for a long time on that subject, but we're running short on time. But one real quick, I had an Iowa State student, freshman intern with us, and never went back to college after that. And you talk about a high IQ guy that loves to build stuff. It just that's the future ready type of people. There's not, I mean, he's super high IQ and he just, wants to create things with his hands and his brain. And so just like designing things, Todd, just like not much difference. So yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for this, Marissa. This is really neat.
Yeah, thank you all for participating in our discussion, and to those of you watching, and to our sponsor, ITC Midwest. You should have access to the full week of sessions at ioideas.com. Please join us again tomorrow at noon with our third session of the week, Making the Space. The full Iowa Ideas Conference is scheduled for October 10th and 11th, and will once again be virtual and free to attend with registration. And all that is at ioideas.com again. So that's a wrap. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.